So we're on Tzadi Tes Amid Aleph, about 18 lines from the bottom by the two dots. We're starting back at, we're done with Lasid Lavai, going back to the Mishnah. Ha'omer ein Torah min hashamayim. He said in the Mishnah that he loses his chelik in Elam Haba. Hanraban, ki dvar Hashem baza, u'mitzvasai hafer. Ikaris tikaris. He was mevaza. He embarrassed. He mocked the Shem Hashem. And mitzvasai hafer. He rejected his mitzvahs. Ikaris tikaris. He's going to be cut off. Zehai mer ein Torah min shamayim. This refers to someone who says ein Torah min hashamayim. So this is one. This first pshat is the source for what our Mishnah says. Davar acher ki dvar Hashem baza ze apikairis. First to not be kairos. Davar acher ki dvar Hashem baza ze magala panim b'Torah v'etz mitzvasai. This is magala panim b'Torah, as we're more familiar with the full phrase. Magala Torah panim b'Torah shalai k'halacha. The Gemara is going to explain that Megala Panim B'Torah, or it's not going to explain, but it's going to become clear that that's a bigger rejection than Apikairis. Gemara is assuming that Megala Panim B'Torah is an Apikairis is someone who has a more subtle type of disparagement or disagreement. The pasuk continues about Masvasai Hafer. That's someone who rejects the bris milah. Hikaris ba'olam hazeh, hikaris ba'olam haba. All of these people, the apikairis, the megala panim shalei k'halacha, the person who's mefer bris basar, are all they're going to cut off both ba'olam hazeh and olam haba. We're on Tzadi Tes Amid Aleph, about 12 lines from the bottom. Mikan Amar Rav Eliezer Hamidoi, Machalas HaKotchim, someone who's Machal HaKotchim, he takes HaKotchim is Metamet. Mavazes HaMayadis, Rashi says Mayadis means Chayla Shomayid. Doesn't mean Yom Tov itself. These are things that show a disdain for either for Kedusha or for Talmidei Chachamim, for the Shitas of the Talmidei Chachamim, for drushes. So Chayla Shomayid, people will sometimes think is not so important. V'amefer Brisei Shel Avram Avinu, v'megala panim b'Torah shaloi k'halacha, v'amalva pnei chaveri b'rabim, someone who embarrasses his friend, afal pishiyesh b'yadei Torah masim tovim. Even though he does learn Torah and he does good things, ein lechelik olam haba. He has no chelik in olam haba. I very much appreciated Reb Chaim Kidowitz when he was being maspid. Reb Shlomo Mahaliwa. He said that he was talking about Reb Shlomo Mahaliwa was a very fine person, and wonderful midas, and he said people think that you could be a Talmud Chacham and not have good midas. He says, but I feel that someone who learns Torah and doesn't have good midas he's an Amaretz who knows how to learn. There's no such thing as a Talmud Chacham who has bad midas. It was very nice. Tanya Idach. Kidvar Hashem Baza. Another pshat on what this pasuk is saying. Zeh Omer ein Torah min hashamayim. Someone who rejects the divinity of Torah. Vafilu Omer kol Torah kula min hashamayim. Chutz mi pasuk zeh. If he says the entire Torah is valid except for a single pasuk, he says it's not from the Rebbeinu Shalom, but Moshe originated it. He says except for this thing that we can deduce from the Torah. Well, you learn out from a kal v'chayim, migzera shava zu from migzera shava. Zeu kidvar Hashem baza. Tanya. Someone who learns Torah and doesn't teach it, Zehu Dvar Hashem Baza. This is Dvar Hashem Baza. I was just talking about this with my son. I brought up this Gemara. He was saying that Reb Chaim Kanievsky said a shir. He never said shiurim. He was never a rebbe. He said, well, after his father was nifter, he said a shir in Yerushalmi for 3 years. And then he stopped saying it. This is someone asked him why is he saying it. So he said, because I don't have time to prepare. So he asked him, how long does it take you to prepare already? He said, it takes 5 minutes. He said, I don't have the 5 minutes to spare. So I asked him, he said, this doesn't sound right based on this Gemara. So if you have ability to teach someone, you can't say, I don't have 5 minutes to spare to be Malam Torah. He says anyone, Rashi explains Al HaMishnah in this context refers to he's not accepting the Divrei Chachamim, the way they explain the Torah. He's basically saying that that's all what the Rabbanim say is what they say, and I don't have to follow it. Rav Nuroy Omer, Kol she'efshel lasik b'Torah ve'eino oisik. Perfect timing, Menachem. We're 4 lines to the Rabbanim on Sadi Tessa Aleph with listing the people or Ein Lahem Chelik Olam Haba, and we just said anyone who's efshel to learn, who's capable of learning Torah and does not do so, loses his Chelik Olam Haba. It's Dvar Hashem.
Perfect timing.
Exactly. Mishal Eimer Zeh Eved Avodas Kechavim. Okay, now it's on safer ground. It's somebody who is Eved Avodas Kechavim. My mashma.
Where we up to?
3 lines from the bottom of Tzadi Tes Amud Aleph. My mashmo is the Tan Debrei Bishmo. Where does he get this from? That Eved Avodas Kechavim is Dvar Shem Baza. Zak Gemara Tan Debrei Bishmo Ki Dvar Shem Baza Dehem Avaza Dibur. This is the person who's medaber the dibur. Shneimar lo Moshe miSinai, the dibur that was said to Moshe by Sinai. Anochi Hashem alekecha liyilecha lekim acherim al panai. The first 2 of the Aseres Hadibros he's being rejecting, so that's Dvar Hashem Basa. Oh boy, this is already going to come close to home. Anyone who learns Torah and he doesn't review it, it's like a person who plants and he doesn't reap the harvest. You work so hard to understand it, and then it's gone the next day. Someone who learns Torah and then forgets it. It's like a woman who gives birth and then she loses her child. You had something valuable, the most precious thing, and you gave it up. Rashi says this means someone who learned their Torah and they remember it, they should make it like a zemer that they sing every day. The same way you sing Moedani in the morning, so you remember that. The learning should be that you review it enough that it becomes like a zemer. Amar Yisuk bar Avudimi, my crush and Amar Nefesh Amal Amloloi, Ki Akef Olav Piu. A person who works, it will work for him, because it's saddles. It's like a saddle on his mouth. So the first part, who amul b'makom zeh. What does it mean that a person who works on it will work for him? Amul b'makom zeh, when he learns in this world, it will work for him when he reaches Eilam ha'emes. Amr Eliezer, kol adam la'amal nivra. Person is created to work. Shenamar ki adam la'amal yulad. As we famously know, the pasuk says, person is born to work. I'm not sure, does this mean manual labor? Or does this mean to be a white-collar worker, or an accountant, or a lawyer? The work over here doesn't mean physical works, it means working with your mouth, with your mind. Does it mean that he should be a salesman? Does it mean he should learn Torah? Since the Torah says the Torah should never leave your mouth, person is intended to learn Torah. So this Gemara is a rejection of those who say Adam la'amal yulad, that you should leave kailul and go to work. Behind the Amr Rava, kulu gufi the ruftiki ninu. All bodies are intended for work. Tuvi l'dezachi the havi the ruftiki deraisa. So the ones who are the best, there's zeicha that their work, the hard work, should be in learning Torah. The noyaf isha chaser leiv, a man who is promiscuous with women, he's heartless. This is someone who learns Torah intermittently. He's not consistent with it. It If it's beautiful, you should keep it close in your innards. It should be prepared on your mouth. So Rashi says that it means that a person who is not consistent, it's like a person who's going from one woman to the other. He's left with nothing. A person should Torah should take it seriously, and she should dedicate it to himself consistently. Tan Rabban, a man who does with arrogance. Menashe ben Chizkiah. This is Menashe. Chizkiah we saw was a big tzaddik, but it's some Menashe was a rasha. He used to darshan in Torah, but he would say things that were untrue. Why did Moshe Rabbeinu have to tell us all these details about Timnah? Timnah was just the Pilegesh of Eliphaz, who was from Esav's family. So we know why he wanted to say the family of Esav. But why do you have to say the Pilegesh of one of the Bnei Esav, what her background was? He also says, he said, what does Moshe Rabbeinu, what do you have to include this in the Torah that he found flowers in the field? Yatzabas, this is what Menashe ben Chizkiah said. Yatzabaska v'amaloi, Teshe ba'achicha, Tedaber b'benimecha. Someone who's sitting with his brother and is talking about his talking about his brother, Tita in Doifi, Ela Asisa Tita in Doifi, he's doing the wrong thing. Ela Asisa v'charashti, I'm going to listen to this and be quiet. Damis havayis, damis v'charashti, damis, I'm going to be quiet. Hayos eya kamaycha. I would be just like you if you're sitting and saying lashon hara about one another, and I'm quiet. I won't be any better. I'm going to chastise you and bring it up. So he says that I can't let this go by, that you're speaking badly about Moshe Rabbeinu, about the Torah. It's not true. Gewalt on those who do an oven, and they start with Chevlei Hashava, with insubstantial ropes, but they end up being over. Their chatayim become like the straps that pull a wagon. What does that mean? When the Yetzer Hara starts, he starts with something that seems like just as thin as a spider web. Well, in the end, it ends up like a thick rope that's used to pull a wagon. So he says that's the nature of the Yetzer Hara. It starts on something small, and then it ends up being very big. Why did Taka, one never really addresses the Dudayin of Reuven, why it had to be mentioned. But it says, once we brought up Achois Lutan Timna, why does it have to say the provenance, the background of Timna, the Pilegesh of Eliphaz? Timna bas Gemara, Timna bas Malachim Havoi. She was the daughter of kings. T'chsiv Aluf Lutan. Aluf means a chief. Aluf Timna. And Aluf Lutan and Timna were both kings. B'chol Aluf Malchusa b'loy Tagihi. Every Aluf means that it's a king without a crown. But it's a very like a substantial melech. He boy leagure. She wanted to be Megayer, this Timna. Basa Eitzel Avram Yitzchak Yaakov. She came to the Avos. They wouldn't accept her. So she went and married Elisha ben Esav. Not even married, she became Pelegish. Better to be a shivcha as that part of a descendant of Avram and Yitzchak, rather than being a wife in a different nation. So
didn't Avram accept everyone?
Yeah, so the Gemara says that this is why he was punished. That you're going to see in a second. It was taka wrong. Why didn't he accept her? I don't know. Maybe because I don't know. I don't know why he didn't accept her. Well, Maisa, we don't have any remnant from these nefesh asu b'charon that we're going to be talking about in a second.
The Rif explains that Timna was a mamzeres, born of an adulterous union between the wife of Seir and Eliphaz. That's the reason why they didn't accept her as a Timna. It's number 31 on the bottom, because a mamzer. Because you're not allowed to make a mamzer, a mamzeres, not allowed to become a gieres. She's one of the few people.
How could she be a mamzeres? How could someone be a mamzer if there's no Jew? I didn't think there was a mamzer by non-Jews.
She was between Seir and Eliphaz.
Well, in any case, the Gemara is going to say in a second. No, I'm saying the Gemara is going to say in a second that the others were punished for not accepting her. So you have to look at that riff and understand what he's saying. So let's continue. So Zaktamar Nafik Minei Al Amalek Tsarinul Yisrael. From this union of Eliphaz and Timna came out Amalek, who pained the Yidden. My timer, what's the reason that this happened? Because the others should not have been meracha. They should have. Sounds like they should have accepted her as a geiris. So I'm not sure how the Rif would learn the Gemara. I guess this is the reason why we said that he went to get the Dudayim. Gemara does really. I'm sorry, I forgot. I just remember the last part where it gets into what these Dudayim were. But in any case, he went out to the field after they finished cutting, after they finished harvesting. So there's nothing left. It says, it means after it was already cut down, when the owners were not makbid because they weren't afraid of him trampling on their harvest. Certain type of flour called yavruchi. Levi Amr Sigli, Yenis Amr Saviski, some kind of sweet-smelling flour. Amr of Alexandri, Kol Isaac B'Torah Lishma, Mesim Shalom B'Pamalya Shamayla B'Pamalya Shamata. Learning Torah Lishma brings peace into the upper realms and into the lower realms. Shnamar Ayechzak B'Mauzi grab onto my strength. Yatsa Shalom Li, Shalom Yasali. The Torah says twice, make Shalom to me and Shalom to me. Mauzi is the Torah. Someone grabs onto the Torah, he makes Shalom twice, both in the Shemayim and on the earth. Rav Amar, Someone who learns Torah as if he built the yeshiva Shalmaila and the yeshiva Shalmata. You're gonna put my words, the Torah, in your mouth, and you're gonna be underneath the shade of my hand. It's to plant in the Shamayim and to establish on the ground. So meaning both the Megdish Lamaila and the Megdish Lamaila. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Af Megan Al Kol Olam Kulai protects the entire world. Shenem Betzel Yadi Kisisicha. With the shade of my hand, you're covered. Levi Amar Af Mekarvas Aguli also brings the redemption. Shenema Leima Letzion Ami. It's going to bring Tzion, Letzion. They dash on Letzion to be Mitzuyan Ami for my nation. So that's a reference to that the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to make us the only nation, his miyuchadik nation that he protects. You are my nation. Someone who teaches someone who's not his son Torah. It's as if he made him. Avraham Avinu taught Torah to many people, that they would consider that he made them. He says it's as if he, when someone teaches a divrei Torah, it's as if he created that Torah. Should watch these divrei habris, and you should make them. How do you make divrei Torah? By teaching it to someone else. Rava Amar Kilu Asu La'atzmei, it's as if he created himself. Shenamar v'asisem oisam, should make them. Al tikri oisam el atem. Asisem atem, you'll make yourself by learning Torah. You'll create yourself. Meaning you make yourself into a different and better version of yourself. Amar Bavo, Kolam Ases Chaveru Lidvar Mitzvah, whoever enables his friend to do a mitzvah, Malav Akasa Kilo Asa, as if he did the mitzvah. Shnamar Umatcha Asher Kisa Boyasayar, and And it says about Moshe, you should take the matter that you hit the yar. Did Moshe really hit the yar? Aaron was the one who hit the yar to create the dam. Since Moshe encouraged Aaron to hit the yar, he was given credit as if he did it himself. So he said in the Brisa before that an apikairis is going to be someone who is no chelik in olam haba. We said two things. We said an apikairis and a megal upon him b'halacha. Rav Chanina Ami Chavayu Zeha Mavaza Talmud Chacham. They say about apikairis is someone who makes fun of Talmidei Chachamim. It's a light, even a lesser thing is considered a mavaz upon him. It's someone who mocks his friend or embarrasses his friend in front of a Talmud Chacham, which is itself, it's almost like he doesn't care that the Talmud Chacham is there. So it's a lesser form. Besides being mavaz chaver, he's also in a way treating the Talmud Chacham disrespectfully. So according to the Mandamar, that apikairis, it's someone who embarrasses a friend in front of a Talmud Chacham. Apikairis havi mevaz Talmud Chacham apikairis havi mevaz Talmud Chacham apikairis havi mevaz Talmud Chacham atzim megal upon b'Torah. So like halacha havi. According to this Mandamar, if you say that a mevaz chaver b'nei Talmud Chacham is apikairis, so you could say someone who is mevaz the Talmud Chacham itself, which is obviously worse than mevaz chaver in front of him, that's also going to be what the Brisa referred to as a higher level, which is a higher level of mevaz upon him, megal upon him b'Torah, sh'lo halacha. According to Mandam, that apikairis is mevaz Talmud Chacham atzmai. That's apikairis havi megal upon b'Torah k'goyin mai. So what's going to be the higher level, the bigger bizayin of being megal upon him b'Torah? What's that going to refer to? Like we discussed before, Menashe ben Chizkiah, that he said that the Torah said on Moshe Rabbeinu said unnecessary things. He wasn't just mevaz Talmud Chacham; he was mevaz the Torah Moshe. Some learned this machlokes about whether it's someone who's mevaz the Talmud Chacham or mevaz chaver b'fnei Talmud Chacham wasn't going on apikairis, but rather on the second part of the brisa, megal upon him b'Torah. Someone who's megal upon him b'Torah. Rav Chanina Amazeh mevaz Talmud Chacham. That's someone who's mevaz Talmud Chacham. Riyachim Rishon Malaka Amazeh mevaz es chaver b'fnei Talmud Chacham. Bishlam Madam mevaz Talmud Chacham atzmai megal upon him b'Torah havi. If you'll say that when the Torah talks about a mevaz that megal upon him b'Torah, it's referring to mevaz Talmud Chacham atzmai. Then mevaz chaver b'fnei Talmud Chacham apikairis havi. The lower level apikairis is talking about someone who's mevaz's friend in front of the Talmud Chacham. If you'll say that the stricter level mentioned in the Brisa is talking about someone who's mevaz's chaver b'fnei Talmud Chacham, apikairis k'goyin man. What is apikairis doing? That's we're saying is not as bad as that. Amar Rav Yosef going hani da amri maya hanu l'rabbanim l'didu karu l'didu tanut. Those are the people who say that the Talmidei Chachamim, what they do, they're not rejecting what they say. They're not saying it's not true, but they say their learning is just for themselves. They don't help everyone else. Amalei Abaye says no. You can't say that someone who says that Talmidei Chacham, what they're learning, doesn't affect anyone else. That's also an equally as bad as being megal upon a Torah. If not for those who learn Torah night and day, there would be I would not keep the laws of nature going. There would be no reason to keep the world extant. So someone who rejects that, who says that the work of Talmidei Chacham, the learning of Talmidei Chacham is useless, is certainly a megal upon him, the Torah. We could see the same thing from a different pasuk. I'm carrying the whole place on their behalf, on the behalf of Talmidei Chacham. So we're back to our original question: what is an apikairis, this lower level than a mevaz Talmud Chacham, mevaz chaver b'fnei Talmud Chacham? When he's sitting in front of his Rebbe and something comes up from a different place. So this is what we said over there. He doesn't say it in a respectful way. He doesn't say this is what Rebbe said, but he takes credit for it himself. So he shows disrespect to his Rebbe. That's considered an apikairos. Rava Amok going Hani the baby Binyamin Asya, like these in the house of Binyamin, the doctor. Ami Maya Hanul Rabbanan, me Olam Leisharla and Orvav Leasala and Yaina. Says, what do Rabbanan help us? They never told us that a raven is kosher, and they never told us that a Yaina is aser. We know what the halach is. The halach is what the halach is. What do I need Rabbanan to tell me all the niceties and where it comes from? Rava ki havi ma'aser treifasa de be Binyamin. When these people from this family that would always say we don't need any rabbanim, when they would bring a question of a treifa in front of him, when he saw a reason to be mata the treifa, see, look, I'm being mata to you a raven. You said I never will mata a raven. You still need my my expertise to tell you whether this is treifa or not. See, I'm answering to you something that you think is mutter. Rapapa, I'm going to Amar Hani Rabbanan. Someone who says Hani Rabbanan, those people. It's a dismissive way of referring to Chachamim. That is an apikairos. Rapapa Ishtali, Rapapa one time slipped up. I'm going Hani Rabbanan. He said like those Rabbanan. He made a tinus to make up for what he said. Levi bar Shmuel, Rav Huna bar Chia have a komisakni mitbechai sifrei debei Rav Yehuda. They were fixing the wooden pieces that hold the scrolls, the Megillus in debei Rav Yehuda. Kimata Megillus Esther. They came to Megillus Esther. Amru ha Megillus Esther loy mitpachas. They don't have to be wrapped around a wooden stick. They're kept on their own. Amaluhu hai gavna nami mechsi ki api kursa. They said to him, talking in that way in front of your Rebbe, you shouldn't say this is what the halach is. You should say, ask the Rebbe, is this the halach? Rav Nachman Omer zeh hakayru Rabbi b'shmai. Now, because someone calls his Rebbe by his name, the Rabbi Yochanan, man nenish gechazi. Why was gechazi punished? Shekar Rabbi b'shmai. He called his Rebbe by his name. Shneimar v'yomer gechazi. Gechazi was talking to the Melech, and he was talking about how Elisha had resurrected a woman and her son. This is the woman that Asher Hechia Elisha, that Elisha resurrected. And he called him Elisha. He didn't say Rabbeinu Elisha, my Rebbe Elisha. So for that he was this is considered not because. Yosef Rav Yirmiyah Kameder of Zervi, Yosef Akama, Asad Shbachel Haitzi Nachal Beis Kochi HaKadoshim. Lost Lavai, back to a lost Lavai. Vesham's going to bring a river out from the base Kochi HaKadoshim. All of Kol Minei Megadim, and it will bring out all sorts of valuable things. Shenem Al Nachal Yala Al Svasai Izem Izeh. From the river will come out on its banks from both sides. Kol Eitz Machal, all delicious foods. Lo Yavel, that will not dry up. Aleu La Yasam, the branches won't get cut off. Period. The leaves won't wither. Period. The Paris won't stop. L'chadashav will renew every month. Ki meimav min mikdash heima yotzim, because the waters are coming out of the mikdash. V'haya period l'maychel, and the periods that will be there for us to eat. V'aleyu l'trufa, and their leaves will be to heal. So this is where we see that. Amalehu Saba Yasha. You said good pshat in this. That you said that that there's going to be this nachal is going to come out of the base Kachei Agadosha. B'chein Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan said the same thing. Amale Rabbi Yirmiyah Rabbi Zeira. Rabbi Yirmiyah said to Zeira, "B'chi Agavna Mechzi Apikursa." He says that this is l'chayra an apikursus to say that your Rebbe is right. That's a chutzpah. Amale There's nothing wrong with saying that I heard the same thing, Shkayach Rabbi, because I heard the same thing from Rabbi Yochanan. There's no chutzpah in that. So if you did hear that there's something that's chutzpah that a Talmud said to his Rabbi, this is what you heard. Also, the Baruch Hu lahavi avanim tovis and argolias shehin shloishim al shloishim amas. Bershom is going to bring these precious jewels that are 30 by 30 amas, and they will be cut in these jewels a hole that's 10 by 20. They're going to be placed in the gates of Yerushalayim to be used as doors. I'm going to use a kadkud, which is a jewel, as your window, and I'm going to make the precious stones as gates. The Talmud was disagreeing. He mocked him. Omar, Hashta, you can't find a jewel that's the size of a small egg. And you're telling me they're going to have jewels that are 30 by 10 amas, 20 amas? Eventually, this Talmud, his svina got lost at sea. He saw that Malachi Asharis was shaping these large jewels. Amalahu Hani Laman, what are they for? Amar Asar Hamida Bashar Yerushalayim. These are the jewels that the Baruch Hashem is going to place in the walls of Yerushalayim. Kiada Ashkeler Rabbi Yochanan the Yosef Gadarish, when he found Rabbi Yochanan, he went back to Rabbi Yochanan and Amalei, Rabbi Drosh L'chana Lidrosh. You should darshan and your droshes are good. Because what you said, I saw in my own eyes. Amalei Reika, he said, empty one. And later, if you wouldn't have seen it, you wouldn't believe me. So this was Taka Chutzpah. It's one thing, the Rebbe says something, he said, I heard the same thing from Rabbi Yochanan. But he said, I didn't believe it. And then when he saw it, he said, now I believe it. You're someone who mistreats or is not respectful of Divrei Chacham. Yov Be'ena, he looked at him, Vaso Galshan Otzamis. He made him into a pile of bones. Meisve, the pasuk
It's interesting. He only got punished. He only got punished after he said that. The Chatchila didn't get punished.
The beginning was a kasha. He said, "How could it be such a thing?" So that was a kasha. But if that's your Rebbe always says the difference between a kasha and a shaila. If he was a shaila, he said, "How could that be?" But then when he revealed at the end that he didn't believe it until he saw it, then that means he looked at it as kash, that it was a stira. So we're asked on this. The pasuk says, "I'm going to take you kaimimias, standing." That lost lavai, the height of a person is like twice the height of Adam Arisha, which was 100 amas. Going to be 200 amas. The people will not be 200; they can only be 100 amas, like the length of the heichel. That your sons are gonna be like plants that were farmed, from their youth. When they say your daughters will be like the cornerstones, the tavnis of the heichel, the shape of the heichel, which the length of the heichel was 100 amas. So the Gemara is asking, how could you say that the height of the entrance to Shalayim is going to only be 30 amas if the people are going to be 100 amas or 200 amas? So the Gemara, those holes, those jewels were only going to be holes to allow in ventilation, but they were not actually there to be doors. What does it mean that the leaves are going to be a healing? One says it's to be mata peshal ma'ala, one says lahata peshal mata. We're going to explain itmar. That means to open the mouth, the upper mouth of a person. It means a person who's mute, the Rebbe was going to heal them and make them. That means trufa is you turn around pas, tough pay, you turn into pas roifa. He's going to open up the peh. It means the lower peh means to open up the womb of a woman who's sterile. Rabbi Yochanan says it means to mamish heal people. So that Gemara Mila Trufa. If it's coming to tell you that it's going to heal people, why does it just say Shambli Raifa? What is the lashon letrufa? It means he's going to light up the faces of those who learn Torah. Someone who blackens his face in Olam Hazeh, Hashem is going to light up his face in Olam Haba. Shenema Mareya Kalavonin Bachor Ka'arozim. Face is like the moon, the chosen amongst the trees. Okay. Okay, we can stop over here. We'll stop over here. I just wanted to finish on that last shtickle. Okay.
What time tomorrow? Because we're Swedish.
Does it make any difference to you, Rafal?
No, I think Makar daven the same time. I think
I think it's going to be 8:30 anyway.
Yeah, it's going to be 8:30 Shabbos anyways.
Okay, so 10 to 8, Bez Hashem.
Yeah,
Very
okay.
good. Shkach, kavach, kavach.
Good luck.